Houston, Tranquility Base here. The Meeple has landed.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Vitruvian Meeple's production of the Powers That Be Acclaim the Sky campaign. I'm your host, Trevor, the Vitruvian Meeple, here as always with Patrick, ECAT, Matt, Julie, and Ray, here to play some CYPHER System superheroes. We are here for issue 22 of the Powers That Be. This one, if you, as you know, if you watch the intro, is called Afterglow. Yep, we went there. But, so, I'm going to hand it over to our GM, Patrick. Patrick, please take us back into the world of Excelsior.
All right, so when last we left our intrepid heroes, a whole bunch of stuff was going on. A couple of you were heading off to go try to illegally purchase some weapons and then go meet up with a new contact, and a few others were roped into helping a, well, let's say emotionally unstable, excruciatingly dangerous scion trying to find her cat. And of course, your illustrious leader, Gen X, had a date. All of these things, after the party had split up sufficiently to the point where nobody was working with anybody else, it all ended up crashing together in a very large melee/battle royale between yourselves, a bunch of soccer hooligans who were playing soccer with a cat. Fortunately, the cat is nay immortal because, well, you know, things happened. Some mercenaries, a couple of mimes showed up, all sorts of people just getting into it all at once. In the aftermath of this, of course, some other things happened. Currently, there are two individuals locked up inside of your secret base. One mime, the one mime who had not gotten the ever-loving tar knocked out of it, and one of the mercenaries are currently in lockup inside of your power dampening cells. Everybody else decided to call it a night, but before, of course, being able, you know, since he was on a date, and his date was kind of insistent, the illustrious leader had to make a choice as to his place or hers. So let's start off with everything nice and new in the bright morning sun. And who's going to be the first to wake up? So how about Paw? So what is Paw going to do first thing in the morning?
I'm sorry, I was still looking at advancement stuff and I was not paying attention. Bad player. Could you could you recap what you just asked me, please?
Basically, after an orgy of violence, there was possibly an orgy of violence involving Jean and Cassidy.
Why? So, Paw, first thing in the morning, you've woken up after all of this. You have, a need for some coffee. You've got a couple prisoners that may or may not legally be held inside of your place.
Took a long hot shower before bed, taking another one, having all the coffee, all the sugar and carbs.
So you're heading off
some yoga before the shower because I need to stretch out the kinks from last night. And I am taking my sweet old time getting ready for interrogation time until there's at least one other person, available, because this is not my forte and I am not going to try and interrogate these clowns on my own.
Okay, so you're heading off to get coffee.
Yes.
So you make your way over to the coffee shop, and the line's a little longer than usual, and you notice that, of course, your favorite barista is not there first thing in the morning. But you know where she was because, well, you know exactly what her secret identity is.
Mm-hmm.
And, well, she's not there currently, which may be a good or a bad thing. You're not sure, but you go and you get your coffee, and, you know, there's a lot of talk about the crazy stuff that went around town. Some people talking about how their car were wrecked, or, you know, I went out, my car was upside down. What the hell happened there? Fortunately, there's insurance and, you know, people for turning your car back over if it happens to get flipped in a superpower fight, because that's the sort of thing that happens. People have to work. All right. So let's say up next, what is Black Ice doing first thing in the morning?
She's still unconscious. She's a teenager who tries to go to night school when not superheroing, so she's still pretty out cold, though she spent some time the night before actually doing homework.
Get home from a big fight, do your homework.
Basically, yeah.
Oh, I hate stats class.
But Mom, I need to go save the world. Not until you finished your math.
Pretty much.
All right. Well then, what is Jackdaw doing first thing in the morning?
I'm trying to decide if Jackdaw spent some of the previous night hooking up AV equipment for the two prisoners and just running an endless loop of TikTok Fortnite dances to like soften them up before going to bed, or if that's just too cruel of an interrogation technique. Too soon?
Yeah.
But Jackdaw is probably like, you know, have just gotten out of bed and, you know, is running through a bunch of like body weight exercises, you know, not using any like weights or anything, while doing a whole bunch of mental calculations in his head. And it's just like, okay, another 20 burpees. Jesus, I hate this shit.
Can confirm.
And then, you know, hitting a shower.
So once you head out, are you heading down to check on the prisoners, or are you just going to ignore them for now and go get yourself some coffee or go out for a jog or something?
Want to keep an eye on them before I head out.
I'll take care of that.
I want to keep an eye on them before I head out.
So you head into the basement, and lo and behold, they're still both there. The mercenary, though you had done your best to disarm him, still seems to have a couple weapons on him that he has diligently been trying to use to escape, to no avail, because, well, it's a very brand new and very well built facility. The mime, on the other hand, is occupying herself by doing the trapped in a box thing inside of a box that's inside of the jail cell that she's in. She thinks this is the funniest fucking thing ever.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So speaking of which, Crash.
So Crash has he got up, he went early to Sunbucks to grab some coffee and some Danishes. And he is now down in the prisoner holding cell room, eating them in front of the prisoners. Oh, I'm sorry. Would you like some?
So Slick, next time we're going to have to strip search the Nazi zombies. I mean, it's kind of hilarious what he's trying to do.
There's not a single part of that sentence that I enjoyed hearing.
Excellent. It's just part of the services I supply. Now, seriously, I mean, it's kind of hilarious that he's trying to punch through that wall with 45 ACP, but you know, we need to do a better job of searching them.
The best part is he does fire the gun once and deafens himself totally because, well, it's a very small enclosed space and it's a very large weapon. So you watch the flash, you see the smoke inside, he's gripping his head. Obviously, having not thought that one through.
Nope. Their trigger discipline is about as shitty as everything else. Ear protection, dumbass.
So I will say you have no one to blame for that but yourself, and I will accompany it in ASL. But what I'm actually signing in ASL is fuck the fuck out of you.
All right. So back to Fortnite dances. Is that what we're doing?
I mean, we could go with raining egg rolls on infinite repeat.
That works too.
Okay.
I mean, I was going to do, Andrew Tate's greatest hits for the mime, but I think the zombie over there is going to, that's already on his playlist. So
Actually, the mercenary you have is not a zombie.
Oh, okay. Well, Nazi then.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. The couple zombies in attendance got blown up pretty good, which is a fairly good policy for any form of zombie, I guess, especially when it's militarily trained.
It's something that I can approve of. Yep.
See, now I'm imagining like the poor unfortunate zombie who has to get up early and groan reveille in the morning.
All right. And so where did Gen X end up last night?
Gen X, in with what little judgment and brain activity that he had remaining after the combat orgy, on the insistence of Calamity to be together for the evening, in turn insisted that it be over at her place because I'm not bringing her to the inner sanctum. Just don't want to go there. Call it a hunch. Bad feeling that I had about that. Can't imagine why.
No, we would treat her like royalty. You, on the other hand, that's
Total
So,
Olympic scorecard.
So you wake up
Mhm.
you wake up in the morning in a strange place. And we
I'm
all
on
know
the couch,
how comfortable that is.
but
Parts of the night before start coming back into focus in your mind. How she came out dressed up like some Wild West prostitute in her frilly underwear, being ridden like some sort of long-horned animal.
and
then
the image that you get, the kind of that you get is I'm sitting there in whatever sitting device and then whatever thing I'm sitting in, and this is happening, and I'm sitting like this, and you see my eyes turn this way.
So, and as you wake up, you realize, of course, you're in an unfamiliar bed. The room smells different and looks different, and there's somebody else in there with you, snoring away quite contentedly on the other side of the bed. Is a mess of tangled red hair and blankets and pillows and skin, and you're like, oh, well, you're up first. You got that going for you, depending whether you want to stay around or go.
Well, the question is, was I really up first? So, well, trying to regain composure and again some semblance of coherency, I gather around, find my uh, phone, take a look at the time, and realize the hour and what normally is happening at this hour that currently is not. And so I firmly but gently, kind of sort of nudge Calamity. It's like, hey, hey, wake up, 6-shooter. Don't you have a shift right about now?
She looks up, yeah,
People need their coffee.
and then went back to sleep.
Okay. I guess we can take that up with the manager at a later time. And trying to be a gentleman, I do manage to find a a pen and piece of paper, notepad, back of an envelope or something. And I write on there to Calamity. That wasn't my first rodeo, but boy, that was an interesting one. Thanks for helping save the neighborhood, Gen X. And I leave that in an obvious place and throw on my jacket, kind of vaguely look at a reflective surface and make sure I don't look too frazzled, and I walk out the door.
Okay, so of note, you are dressed up in your, crime fighting outfit, so your jean jacket and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Trying not to look entirely disheveled. And you're fortunately only like a block and a half away from Sunbucks, and thus about, another block and a half past that to get to your place.
Mm-hmm.
So where are you heading?
If Sunbucks is between my play is first, I'm stopping there because I need about 3 extra shots to jumpstart
Okay.
the morning.
Grab my backpack full of all my stuff, including my textbooks, and I run in the door to Sunbucks. I give him a look over and just give a smile down the walk of shame.
I look at Black Ice and I'm like, just get him, just get it's.
So pause, you're sitting there, and enjoying your coffee and muffin. You see Black Ice head in with her backpack, and on her heels, actually she's here kind of just behind Gene, who is walking in. He looks like he had a rough night.
I I I sidle up to Jane, throw an arm around her shoulder. How you feeling this morning?
Oh, every bit of every day I've been on this planet. Thanks. Thanks. How you doing?
I'm getting coffee, and I'm getting a muffin the size of my head. I'll be fine.
Yeah, yes, you will. Yes, you will. Excellent.
So you get in line, and as you're ordering your coffee, the barista there is smirking at you like all hell.
I'm just kind of quietly snickering.
I'm used to that.
So what'll it be, partner?
I
Oh,
so want to
the whole
just like
staff is going to know.
I will take an latte with 4 extra shots the size of my head.
Fair enough. So they start operating the device, and so like the whole staff is just just watching you, trying to figure out how things went and all of that, because they're a small team that works at the same place every day.
Yep.
So would you like a muffin or an energy bar or anything like that?
We'll go with the energy bar. Sounds like a good idea.
Well, your coffee comes up, and along with the energy bar, and they don't charge you for either of these things because they know.
I just smile and say, "Have a wonderful morning," and turn around, just internally give a big fuck you. Actually, I kind of walk away kind of humming "Kids these days. What's the matter with?"
So you get outside into the nice, fresh morning air again, enjoying your coffee. And it's well made. Perhaps not quite as well as Calamity makes the coffee. She seems to understand the altered coffee machine quite well, but it'll do. And you get back to your building. Pass by the bar, which of course at this point, is closed because, they have to sleep at some point. Into the foyer, you get to the elevators. Are you going upstairs to your room, or are you going to go downstairs and check on the prisoners that are?
I am going upstairs to my room and I'm going to drink my coffee in peace for probably the 10 minutes that I'm going to have to myself and just try to clean up as bachelorly as I can, wash my face, change my clothes, and once again, we're now moving from going into coherency to we're actually trying to approach civility here. It's a
As you're enjoying
stretch.
your coffee, you note that out the window you see that there are a pair of crows sitting on the window frame, just kind of watching you, and then looking at each other, then watching you.
One
see.
slides a peanut over to the other one.
There's a little channel worn in between them because it's gone back and forth so many times.
And I was gonna give y'all treats, but
They just caw maniacally.
big surprise. Big surprise. Good God. Anything else I can help you lads with?
They're just watching, and then they look at each other, and they aren't like banging on the glass or anything, just keeping an eye on what's happening in the apartment.
Oh yeah, no, I'm used to it by now. Used to it.
few
So you get
minutes
your-
after or Jean has come in, I come thumping through. 'Cause I've got 60 of coffee as I head down to set down my coffee, bump my backpack onto the table, and proceed to pull out the most unkosher breakfast sandwich they could give me and mow down on it.
The egg, pork sausage, and bacon with
Yep.
cheese.
Extra bacon.
Extra bacon.
Nice.
Nice.
So I'm pretty sure Crash and Jack have heard me come stomping in.
Yeah.
Yep. I've filched some of Crash's, treats from the next door. As we're both munching on
Yep.
Danishes and drinking coffee in
Oh,
front of
yeah.
the prisoners.
So is Jack still in the sun and Crash still in the Sunbucks?
No,
No, yeah, we're down in the holding cell area.
Okay.
The only
Okay.
one who was still at Sunbucks is Paw.
All right.
Till she finishes eating her muffin as big as her head.
So I'm drinking my coffee and eating my energy bar, and I do have I've got one of these just because good to munch on in general. And I'm looking at the crows out there, and a thought comes to mind. And
No.
I grab the nuts and I give it a shaky shake so that the crows both are, I have their
Got
attention.
their attention.
Got their attention. I walk up to the window and I open up the window, top out, bottom up, so we can see. And I look and it's like, you. And I pick up something like rock, drop, bang, bang, bang on the head. You. And I scoop out a whole big, and this isn't just peanuts. This has got the cashews and macadamia nuts and the filberts. You. So, hat, bang, 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 bunk. Caw.
They look at each other. Both nod at you.
And so, and then I give like a small, just, about 5 or 6 to each of them. Good.
So they peel off of your window and fly off fly off over the roofs.
Feeling clever with myself. I finish up the coffee, brush my hair, and then head downstairs to the main office here, the gathering area.
Okay, Paw, are you going to catch up with the rest of the team as well?
Yes, I am going to get a thing of mini muffins and a cookie for later. Top off the coffee and head over. And I'm just going to start listening for wherever, people are.
As you're heading back, you note a couple of crows flying off with purpose. Like, they got something going on.
Uh-huh.
You
Okay,
get into the
well,
building, hit the button on the elevator. The door's open, and there's Jean heading into the riding down the elevator as well.
are we feeling better now? Did we have our coffee?
Oh, yes. Yes. I am starting to believe that I can form intelligent thoughts. But just
Okay,
starting.
that at least makes one of us. So
As long as you are coffeeed and not cranky. That is my big concern with you.
Yes. I am coffee, I am sugared, I have more for later.
Okay. Very good.
I'm gonna assume that Jack and Crash are down with our guests and that Neva is still on her way in.
I believe that
I'm in the
assumption is
conference
correct.
Okay.
at the conference table, textbooks all splayed.
She's been there the whole time.
Did you get any sleep? I poke my head in.
Kinda,
Okay.
because I drank both hands to pick up the 64-ounce.
The guys are downstairs.
As best you can tell, yes.
Okay.
I mean, I don't
Continue
know.
head downstairs. Go see what. Actually, to take my to go, handled bag with everything, in one hand, and got the coffee in the other, and doing the whole, hitting the buttons with the elbow thing, because
As you do.
yeah.
So you make it into the basement, and indeed, the others are down there. At the moment, Jackdaw is setting up some AV equipment with a particularly sinister look in his eye.
Hey, what's new, pussycat?
Yeah.
Crash is eating breakfast right in front of them, just kind of pacing back and forth.
Just because, like, we still have a bit of punchy and just kind of that manic energy residuals. He says that, and I just instinctively, without even realizing I'm doing it, go, whoa, whoa, whoa.
I go over to Gene and high five him,
Yes.
and then no shower. Bold choice, brother. Bold choice.
I wanted to simulate prompt.
Oh, you're simulating something.
Mm-hmm.
So how are our guests this morning?
Well, one's non-communicative and the other one just deafened himself. So we're probably going to need to borrow your bald friend if we want to get anything out of them.
Okay. I'll be back.
You do note, by the way, that the holding cell is doing a spectacular job of clearing up all of the gun smoke from inside.
Yeah,
There's a tremendous amount of smoke.
Oh, did we forget to pat them down and disarm them before putting them into the?
No, we didn't forget. We just didn't do a thorough body cavity search. And, I don't know how he got a Hamber 1911 where he must have concealed it, but I don't really want to know.
Ew. And if we need to, we can hire somebody to take care of that, because I'm literally not going to touch that with a 10-foot pole. And I am going to head back up to the conference room, taking my coffee and my baked goods with me. Flop down on chair at the head of the table, out of Neva's way, and pull out phone. Pull out my phone to call. Oh, and I'm blanking on his name, the scion that I've been interacting with.
Bill Klein.
Bill.
Thank you. And I give Bill a call.
The phone rings a couple times. Then a very sleepy voice answers, hello?
Morning, Bill.
Oh, good God. Yeah. Oh,
Okay, it's not that early, dude. Come on.
I was up late. I don't know how you people do this stuff. I'm thoroughly diurnal.
So how is our little friend? Are she and her cat doing well, I hope?
Oh, wonderfully. Yes. Yes. As
Oh,
soon
good.
as she had the cat again, everything was fine.
Okay, that's good.
She went
So-
home. She's with the cat.
So after you are awake and functional, would you be willing to do us a little bit of a favor with, we have some people that we need to ask some questions of, and
Oh, the
we
two
don't
people you abducted.
quite have the
Right,
right skill set.
Yes, yes. I remember you gathering up a couple folks. Yeah, sure. I can stop on by. Where am I going?
I give him the address of the bar.
Okay.
I will meet you there at whatever time that, like, I don't know, an hour.
Yeah, they'll give me plenty of time to grab a shower and some coffee. Fortunately, I don't have to wash my hair or anything. So, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I can do that.
Okay. I hop onto the group text and it's like, he'll be here in an hour.
Oh dear God. I've never really thought about the fact that, superhero group text would be a thing.
Oh yeah.
It makes sense.
Seriously? We're bringing him in?
Apparently.
You have a way to, get anything out of these two?
I
No.
might have an idea too.
Yeah,
So the
I'm all
mine, by
ears.
the way, as any of you walk by, is kind of following you with this horrible hangdog expression on her face, as though she is starving to death and is just watching whatever you eat, kind of like, a dog watching you.
So when I notice that, I go right up to the force shield or whatever it is that is giving. You want some? All you have to do is ask. And I back away. Because every once in a while, Crash remembers that he's an asshole to people other than his teammates. It's great.
Yeah, it's not like we forget. I mean,
You do remind us on a regular
That's fair,
basis,
yeah.
so it's
Truth.
Little paw up.
We lost you there, you cat?
Yep, we're losing you again.
I can't control it.
Yep.
But the paw, I could just picture the mime doing
doing the
Or-
please paw.
the paw. Yeah, the please.
the Simon's cat.
No, paw up.
Oh,
Please, please, please.
please.
And we may have lost. Oh,
Nope.
now she's back.
Yep. I'm telling her the exact truth. If she wants them, all she has to do is ask. When she does the like, can't quite hear you through this.
I head
Speak
back
up.
downstairs. It's like, no. Use your words. Figure I've babysat enough of the family toddlers and stuff to be able to
Yeah, Jack will start, doing a little ASL with the mime. Just seriously, we're not unreasonable.
She's
But-
kind of, watching as you're, flashing her hands around, and then she's kind of mimicking you. And you're not sure if like she can actually speak in ASL or if a mime is allowed to say anything using sign language.
All right. Well, we're not
Breaking
going to
the
get
mime
any.
code.
We're not going to get anywhere until Bill shows up,
No.
and dumbass over here. Yeah, I'm gonna have to give him another half an hour before he hears anything other than tinnitus.
What?
Well, yeah. All right. Well, might as well get comfy, folks.
Yep.
So a little a little bit of time passes, and then Paul goes upstairs, and precisely 49 and a half minutes after the phone call, Bill rounds the corner, dressed up in his usual impeccable fashion with his overcoat and his hat on. Tips the corner of his hat. Good morning.
Yeah, I have made sure that I am upstairs actually in the bar to meet him.
All right.
Okay. Where I'm going to taking you, involving a lot of trust. So don't be that guy.
Well, to my credit, he says as you're heading in towards the foyer, if I wanted to know where your secret lair was, I can just read it off of any of you.
I know.
So don't worry about that. I know things I'm not supposed to know about everybody I walk across. That's okay.
Okay. Take him to the elevator. Take him down.
Like, do you have like an enhanced sense of smell or anything like that?
Probably.
So like, because I know a lot of the animal form mutants tend to have that better hearing, but so consider the things you know about people because of that.
Yeah,
That
you're
your
getting
ordinary person wouldn't. It's the same thing.
Okay.
you got a
Except
lot
it's
of information about Gene. So
Yeah.
So ding, the doors open up. He walks past the conference room towards the holding cells, stops, leans into the conference room, and offers his knuckles up to Ray.
And what?
Gene, you're getting fist bumped by a scion.
Oh, okay.
Clunk. He just fist bumps you and then wanders off towards the holding cells.
And in my head, I'm going, I know you can hear this. Gee, thanks.
So he walks, in front. He's watching the two of them for a minute. So what do you want? You specific information? Want them to like change their ways or forget that they were brought here?
Ooh, spicy.
We are looking for, I think what would be most helpful right now is motive and incentivization here. Because somebody's milkshake brought a hell of a lot of boys to the yard last night. And if we're going to get to the bottom of any of this, we got to know the why so that we can figure out what's being used for the how.
Okay. So you want to know why those two were at the big fight?
Yes. Why were they sent there? What was their role? And is it coming from the same source? Just throw
okay.
5 different factions from, are they all coming from Riker? Like what's going on?
All right.
I want
Let's
to know
see.
what the Circus King's bigger plan is.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh. Okay. So you want to know what you can get about the leadership over there as well.
Oh yeah.
yeah, and any sort of overarching plot, like
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of tricky. The main players over there, curiously enough, are people we can't read. We can't go anywhere near the Circus King because we aren't going to risk that.
right.
Erebus is invisible to us. Has no mind that we can access.
Mm,
And
he's
the leadership of Memento Mori, on the other hand, are rather shadowy. We don't know who they are.
a couple senators.
That's there's a lot of concern behind that. That whoever's running that may actually be a rather public person. For all we know, they're bankrolled by somebody. For instance, they cost
Oh,
a lot of money.
oh yeah. Well,
They
I
don't
can
make a lot of money that I'm aware of.
now they're pretty sloppy as far as that job goes. So yeah, they're definitely the sledgehammer end of the scalpel spectrum.
All right. So who should we start with first? How about
But
our mercenary over here? He looks pretty battle hardened. It might be a bit of a challenge. So he walks over to the screen, and so what sort of cells did you construct? Are they like sci-fi with a force field holding at the front? Or are they just like a well-made gel cell? Or are they like Silence of the Lamb style?
good question. What would Tink have built or designed?
I would love if it was the kind of holding cells that was used in the Flash on the CW TV
Yeah.
show, to where
What are those
it's
like?
huh?
So what are those like?
Those are, I mean, you can see, obviously you can see through it, but it is basically it's temperature resistant, shock force resistant. It's like, transparent aluminum on steroids, so that it buffers any kind of energy emissions from within. So it is impenetrable to those energies, but it's just concentrated
Yeah.
as the door, as the gate
Oh
of
god,
each
it's made
cell.
out of flubber.
I mean, it works, dude.
All right. So he goes up to one. So see right into it, and all crouches down because the guy is like sitting against the wall with his legs sticking out near the door, with the pistol sitting next to him, his knife next to that, and his other knife next to that one. He had tried like cutting through stuff with a knife or trying to find seams in it with no luck. Just has not had a good morning. It's like, okay, so I apologize for this, by the way, but situation as it is, and I am authorized to look into things. So uh, if you don't mind, the guy looks at him and then tries to affect a blank look on his face, like he's trying to pull some sort of defense against whatever it is about to happen to him. And so Bill just continues looking at him and is very gently talking to him, prompting him, but not asking any questions. So he says things like, when you first got up yesterday and your orders were, and carries this on for a little while and stops. Okay. He stands up and he walks over to the mine. He's like, oh, this one's going to be a little more tricky. She's one of us. So he looks and it's like, do you want to do this the easy way or do you want to do this the hard way? And she looks nervous because she apparently knows who Bill is.
I am standing behind him, by the way, doing the vibrating palm bit. Because she doesn't know I don't actually have that attack, but, you know, I can still do it.
Jack's just subtly getting out a pair of nitrile gloves and
She looks around, holds up a finger,
oh god.
thinks for a minute, and then he turns and says, okay, she'll cooperate as long as you let her go.
One condition, she gets wiped first.
Absolutely.
But
She
I
won't
think
know where she won't know where she was. How is that?
Or what happened.
because I don't think you want any of that stank on you either.
Oh no. Oh no. We have rules, and I'm skating them rather thinly.
Okay. So
See, that's why we
I
love
think
you,
we can.
Will. You understand
So
what
he
needs
leans
to be
forward, and he looks at her, and she twitches just once, as you know, she's aware of what's happening, and then he thinks about it for a while, and then he twitches a bit, steps back, like, oh, she's a mess in there.
Yeah.
She is definitely one of the Circus King's people.
Oh, yes.
And I can't imagine he's a very pleasant boss to work for.
No, it's not that. He's just a guy who runs a circus, so he's just kind of a general scumbag. No, it's what his ability does to people. It's bad. Very, very bad. Like bordering on unfixable. Like I can fix things going on in people's heads. Not so much. Looks back at her and says, sleep now. And she collapses to the floor. All right.
I walk over as right after he does that. Bill's walking away. I'm walking. He's like, let's see you, Marcel. You're way out of that situation, Toots.
Like, okay, so you have a little bit of time to haul her out of here. She'll be in a little bit of a fugue state, so just kind of pitch her out the door. She'll wander around for a while, and eventually she'll come to, and
Yeah.
won't remember where she came from.
Hire an Uber or, you know.
No, I say we take her back to where the row was last night.
Well,
Fair
yeah,
enough.
that's what I was thinking. You can do this anonymously.
What do you want to do with that one?
Depends what he knows.
Well, I know what he knows in terms of his orders and whatnot. And what he knows about here, well, I can try the same thing, give it a good wipe. I'm quite effective at that. And once again, just kind of let him go somewhere and he'll find his way back home eventually. He's like a dog like that, I guess.
That works. I mean, the other option is, we put him to sleep.
I have an idea. How good are you at post-hypnotic suggestions?
I don't do well. Okay, so as a scion said, I'm not like the most powerful of any, but I can do everything, which means I can dominate people. Now, I'm nowhere near as good at that as like Hive Mind is. Mind Hive is, but that's a different story entirely. But I can certainly disavow them of their current career choices, adjust their identity, all sorts of fun stuff.
Can you include a subconscious desire to sabotage the Circus King?
I can try, but then I'm butting up against the Circus King. So that depends on how thorough his wiring might end up being with this person. This individual, mind you, has not been adjusted by the Circus King.
Okay.
Doesn't have any of that madness in him. I think that is part of how their operation is running, which I will cover briefly. He actually has a pretty good idea what's happening.
Oh, I was talking about the mine.
Oh, the mime?
Yeah. I was talking about
Oh.
sending the mine back with a post-hypnotic suggestion or a subconscious suggestion to sabotage the Circus King's operation.
I don't think fully Manchurian candidating either one of these guys is, that may be too overt for who we're up against.
That might be unethical, and ethics is a big consideration in my life.
I was thinking more of, for the well, actually it would work for either one of them. Just having them, leave a back door open somewhere. Not a, complex programming or keep it simpler and less detectable, I guess. But, I wouldn't want to intrude on Bill's.
I could turn him into a double agent easily enough. He could just drop you information.
That would be lovely.
That would be brilliant.
That's something he understands very well, so it's something that's very easy to make him do.
Excellent.
Excellent.
Okay. So he looks at the guy, and like, once again, barely an instant passes, and then the person, fortunately, who is already leaning up against the wall, falls asleep and slumps to the side. Okay. So how about you relocate those two, and I will put together my report for you, and we'll meet in your conference room.
Sounds excellent.
That's agreeable.
Wonderful. He goes into the conference room and tops off his coffee.
I can, yes.
Are you going to physically ferry Tweedledee and Tweedledum?
No. We have vehicles for this.
Right, which was saying
yes.
is burner account Uber.
No. We don't want anything that can trace it back to here.
Uber will
burner
then
account
Uber picked up.
Uber. And have them picked up down the block. Or we can drive out.
Yeah.
But, that's also risking somebody backtracing us from the dump off point.
Yes, but as I recall, we got this actually from in memoriam, didn't we? The
Hex. Oh, we could just leave them in the Humvee.
You have the Humvee, you have the troop transport as well that you just picked up.
Right. Yeah, let's do the troop transport. Oh no, they might trace it back to one of the other factions on the that was in the tussle last night.
I mean, what are we going to do with a deuce and a half?
Yep.
Just leave it.
I was kind of wondering that, but okay. So
and you hear in your stole that fair and square.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't say we wouldn't be bringing it back.
Okay.
I'm saying we don't bring it back. It's serving a purpose. It's an asset that we can expend. I mean, unless Crash wants to fill it up with tannerite and drive it down the bridge to Alcatraz, or not Alcatraz, Rikers, I can't think of a really good use for this thing.
I've heard worse plans, actually.
Okay, well, I've said my piece. Y'all decide what you want to do.
I think I've come around to your way of thinking, Jack. Which I hope terrifies you as much as it does me.
Yeah, not getting, warm fuzzies right now, no.
I'm sorry. I think we're going to have to return one of your toys.
I'll make it up to you.
I'll hold you to that.
Okay.
Okay.
So you dump them into the troop transport
Mm-hmm.
and gingerly drive it out because it's about as big as you can fit, into the alley that
Yeah.
leads into your driveway. So
And
you pull it out.
driving one of those things through Queens traffic.
Yeah, it takes you a while to get where you're going. And as you get to where the fight was, the cleanup crew is still there. So you see a bunch of STEM people collecting. There's a bunch of bodies with sheets over them. There's ambulances absolutely everywhere collecting tons and tons of hooligans who have various problems, many problems with their sight still. Is, too much pepper spray and other things going on. And of course, they're also doing things like writing cars and, taking witness statements and, cashing and writing checks for people's damaged vehicles and stuff at the hands of all of the things that happened.
I think we go with plan B. Drive it up to this end of the bridge. Lodge a brick under the accelerator and let it drive.
Okay. Hopefully they wake up in time.
Well,
it only goes so fast. I mean, really.
Yeah.
Okay, keep it in first. Yeah.
I mean, if we're
Okay.
really concerned about the truck exploding and them burning to death, I actually can do something about that.
I don't really care about them.
Okay.
I just care about the trouble we went to making a double agent and that going to
Oh,
waste.
that's true. Yeah. Fine.
You could always start it down, kick it into neutral and hop out, and then it'll just roll partway down the bridge at least.
Yeah.
That works.
Sure, we'll do that.
And thinking about it, that, Jack could probably calculate exactly how fast it needs to go
Yep.
in order to roll to a stop right before it hits the barricade at the far side. It's just
Friction
knowing a bit about, the different types of friction that are going on.
Yeah. Yeah, friction coefficient. Yeah. That should work.
4. And we do that thing.
Okay. So you put them into the. So do you put them into the cab or into the back?
The cab.
Cab.
Okay.
Make it look like they were driving.
Okay, so you put the mercenary behind the wheel because he'd be the most likely one to be driving one of these things.
Yep.
And the mime's kind of flopped over on the other seat. And you send the vehicle down the bridge and kind of watch it go for a while.
Mercenary's arm around the mime.
Yes. It appears that, your leader wasn't the only one, at least getting somewhat lucky last night. These ones may think they did when they wake up. Lead to a very troubled relationship in the future, I'm sure.
It's all plausible deniability, baby.
Yep.
And it comes to a halt at the end of the bridge, and you see the various carnies that are hanging out there, keeping an eye on things, come out and, look at what's going on, pull the unconscious people out of the vehicle. They're slapping them around a bit. Then some mercenaries show up and drag the other mercenary off, and the mime eventually starts coming to.
Okay. Well, I think we've
Well,
done
that
our
went
due
well.
diligence.
Yep.
See you back at the base, and I zoom off.
God damn it. Love it when he does that.
Just love walking by myself everywhere.
Who's walking? I'm gonna hack the nearest rideshare e-bike and bike it over.
Ching 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 ching.
Hmm.
So Bill's hanging out there, just, kind of thinking and mulling things over. Then eventually the crash shows back up. Then, 10 minutes later, Jackdaw comes down.
Oh, glad you could join us.
As always, a pleasure working with you.
Mm-hmm. The seed's been planted, shall we say.
Oh, we're not talking about Gene's date. Gotcha.
Honestly,
Hey.
thank you for saying it so I didn't have to.
Again, all part of the services I provide.
See, we do work well together. Right,
So
what's Mr. Klein got for us?
here's some of the highlights of what I was able to pick up. First of all, in terms of last night, as best they can tell, the hooligans found the cat on their own, just by chance. There are a surprising number of hooligans in town, but they have to live somewhere, and well, as we all know, they have been living here for a long time. Had their own bar and everything. Looks upstairs. So they've got into some trouble with the cat. The Akira, as soon as she noticed that the cat was missing, went out looking for the cat, as she does. That's when everything else started going down, because from their various surveillance points throughout, the mercenary corps on the island saw her doing a grid search of Crowtown, and decided to go out and see if they could get the cat for themselves as a strong point of leverage. If they had the cat, she would be unlikely to do anything to them and could likely be, talked into doing something for them. What that was not revealed to them at all. They were just, following their orders, get the cat.
Yeah,
So,
some rear echelon motherfucker came up with that brilliant plan. Sorry,
yeah,
Bill. Continue.
it's a fairly straightforward military thinking. There's an objective that is provided itself. Let's see if we can meet that objective. The circus, on the other hand, noted that some activity was happening, and Circus King and the other scions there felt what Akira was doing, that she had become active. She is very obvious to all of us when she is. She's extraordinarily powerful. It said between her and Mindhive, it's kind of hard to tell who's the most noticeable, but there are a pair of very bright spotlights when the rest of us are walking around carrying, small flashlights. So the mimes were then curious as to what was going on and headed out to see what was up. And once they saw that a melee was starting up, they wanted in. So they were just there to cause trouble. Spend a little chaos into the world seems to be the circus's way of things. So a little bit below that, though, I was able to get a few interesting tidbits. The circus is looking for kind of permanent accommodations. It wants to not just drop by Rikers, it wants to live there now. And it seems that the Circus King has two things that he's trying to accomplish right now. One, a fairly typical thing for him, he kind of wants to take over the entirety of Excelsior. It's, kind of his MO. Shows up in town, wrecks everything, and then eventually decides to move on. So it's just going after the big target at this point. But there's something else. The mime was, how to put this? Circus King's looking for a relative. A cousin of some sort, I believe, maybe a brother, a sibling, I'm not quite sure. Has an idea where this sibling is and is trying to figure out how to bring this person to them. They are estranged. Obviously, I can't imagine any of the Circus King's family wanting to deal with the Circus King. Imagine that person hanging out at your holiday festivities.
Pretty nightmarish.
So they're looking for someone and trying to lure them in, but we don't know who. It's just that it's a relative of theirs. And the identity of the Circus King is kind of questionable. We don't know a whole lot about them. STEM doesn't know a whole lot about them either. We're part of STEM and affiliated with, I should say. So there's that part of it. And so the fact that the Circus King has a place to be is the relationship that the circus has currently with Erebus. Erebus owns the island, and Erebus let them go there. Basically showed up at their circus one day and said, hey, I've got land. Do you want to go there? And they were, given access to about half the island, and so they have since moved in. On the other hand, the Memento Mori presence is there's a contract of some sort going on. There's an exchange happening. They don't seem to know how long they're going to be there, but they are expecting to get something out of being there in exchange for the service of being there and providing protection.
To the circus.
Not to the circus, no, to something else happening on the island.
Oh, God, okay.
To Will's, I'm sorry, Erebus's master plan, whatever that may be.
Yes. So it seems that Will needs something out of them, which can be a lot of things. I know Will very well. We have been, friends and comrades for a long time.
Get off the counter.
So,
And I am not going to speak ill of my friend or anything, but
so what was
Will's
with
obviously
the?
turned out to be a villain.
You
So
don't know what the heel turn was about?
No, I do not. There are some things that go on in STEM we as a group stay away from. It's based on an old arrangement, and thus there are things happening at the top level I don't know. So I don't know what Will's relationship with the rest of STEM is like. I don't know what Will's relationship with the rest of the villains are like.
I would be very interested to hear more about that arrangement. Maybe another time.
Yeah. It's
But,
definitely put a pin in the murder board.
Yeah, let's put a pin in that one for right now.
Sure.
So what Will wants out of them does involve a whole bunch of high-tech military equipment. So that is what they are putting up. They are putting together some sort of lab or something in one of the lower levels of the prison complex. So they're bringing in a whole bunch of weird stuff. This individual does not understand most of it. He is a straight up mercenary. So, but he does know that the one group is just there as a show of force. His team, Sleep Eternal, is providing security and building the actual facility, and the zombies are having a delightful time working on whatever it is that this equipment is supposed to do. They're the ones who know how to use it, which is weird.
That's
Considering
terrifying.
that they are a bunch of fungus zombies. So, and the fungus zombies, by the way, they're a difficult group for us because they have an alien intelligence. Much like Will, or your friend Gene over here. Gene has a certain amount of protection against anything I might do because, well, there's an alien intelligence inside of his head.
Sure.
It's
Sure.
a matter of how far back inside of the head that is. Like in Will's case, there is like Will's alien does not allow anyone else anywhere near his consciousness.
Sure.
Just does not exist as far as we can see. I'm not sure what mechanism it is using for that, but I have it on fairly good authority that it's a fairly big and terrifying thing, and we shouldn't really fuck with it. So we don't.
Mm,
It's a thing we do because, well, he's helped us out a lot. So, so they're putting together a big lab to do something that Will needs and may be involved in whatever Will is going to do for them. Because Will has offered them something they can't get anywhere else. Which should be a shock to nobody. Will has access to things nobody else can get to. Because if it's, further than however many hundred thousands of miles away from the Earth, nobody else can get to it quickly.
right. Which
So
again begs the question of, since he can just teleport to an asteroid, why he'd need to have somebody steal platinum group metals on Earth. That's anyway.
Is Gene there? Is Gene in the room with us? Or are you still sleeping off last night? Okay. I didn't know.
What, you can't smell him?
Not over a Zoom call, no. I didn't have the accent on him, or I didn't have the voice affectation on him not being crushed.
the worst part is that there's a surprising smell of spent gunpowder on him still. And you're not sure if that was from the fight last night or from activities afterwards, based on who he was with.
And I don't want to know.
Don't want to know.
Nope.
No.
So, Gene, your little slug you've got in there, what does it know about how they came to Earth in the first place?
I tap Eddie on the shoulder to verify that my working theory is true, and that is there was a portal, there was a need, and they went through it.
Did they make the portal, or did it just...
You think back on this along, so thinking about, how did you get here? And so it starts thinking about it. You get this image, and there's a weird thing about the image. So yes, you see a bunch of things just kind of swimming out in the void, doing something and talking amongst each other as they do. And, you can't understand a fucking word of any of this stuff. It kind of hurts your brain just to think about like the words forming as they're saying them. And then one of them breaks a hole through reality, and it goes through to a place, and it's an important place that several of you have to go to because it's going to be important in a while. And so you go through it and you arrive there, and the first jump of it, you recognize like, okay, oh, there's the Earth, and there's the sun over there, and there's the moon, and okay, you can see some of the other planets. So you're just kind of in space up near it, and then it falls in towards the Earth, and it lands. And it's separate from the other ones, just plops onto this landmass that's there. But you notice as you're falling down, the landmass isn't the continents as you know it. It's a big landmass. And it plunks onto the ground and then kind of absorbs a bunch of the energy from around it to recover from what just happened. And it looks around, and you see just very big plants everywhere. It's just everything is just green, wall to wall. And no plants that you recognize of any sort. So, however long ago this was, it was a very, very long time ago. And then you see that it's wandering around, and time passes, and you see this, the sun's kind of blurring up ahead in the sky as it's wandering the Earth. And then you see things like giant reptiles wandering around, and the volcano's happening, and thing falls from the sky, and then this big battle goes on, and thousands of creatures from all across the places are dead, and whoever was living there before is now gone. And then everything quiets down again, and then it all happens again. Some things fly in from space and arrive here, and he has to defend the planet against them. And then they fade off, and then eventually you see humans start happening. And it's kind of watching the humans from the distance, kind of poking at their lives and what's not, but kind of staying away from them. And then it fades out, and then eventually it sees you. And then that's where the vision ends.
How much of this did Gene narrate to us, or
Oh, that's up to Gene. Like, wait, are those
So,
dinosaurs?
yeah, basically, due to the mental and metaphysical gymnastics that have to occur to kind of like lock in this four-dimensional hypercube of whatever the fuck is going on with this, I'm a little bit occupied and can't access the frontal cortex to do the speechy wordy thing. So you just kind of you see me just sort of look, and it's a different glazed over look that you've seen, but Crash would recognize before anybody else, because my eyes vaguely start to turn the way he remembered in the car whenever I was a little angry. But it's like not like it was just sort of like that precipice, because I'm locked in internally / dimensionally, whatever. So we get through the National Geographic documentary here, and the vision ends, and I blink, eyes go back to normal. I kind of like again try to shake some form of coherency into what's left of my brain. And go, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. It's whatever happened in the name of an era that I can't pronounce. The Plesiozoic era, the Mesopotamian era. I really don't know without the help of
Mesozoic?
Okay.
And Jack pulls out tablet, picks up a picture of Pangea. It's like, does this look familiar?
Yes. And then what surprises everybody is that I say, except that and I give the Latin name of the species, and I reveal that, except that era hasn't developed due to the structure of the evolution of the plants, thanks to the and like just give this evolutionary techno speak, just blah. I know it, and I know, yeah, you're right, but it's about maybe 10 to 15 million years off in a different part of the planet. And I just say it as if I knew that somebody had given me decaf.
Okay.
I quietly write down notes, consult with Eddie for geology homework.
All right. So I'm getting that whatever happened affected the evolution of life on this planet slightly. Question: how many of Eddie's buddies came along for the ride? Does Eddie know
And
that?
well, I lock back in, and from what
Strangely enough, you remember an exact number. So aside from the one that opened the gate here, there were 11. And then the one who opened the gate showed back up fairly recently.
Happened to be called Nova?
Nebula, yes.
Nebula.
Is it because basically Eddie points out, like, oh, by the way, you know that guy. As it like rips apart space and whatnot. And you're like, wait, what? And then
Oh, great.
oh, okay. So yeah, which makes sense, you know. Wherever they came from, it's not part of space time. It just kind of opened a hole through everything and let everybody in.
Completely different brain. Does Eddie, not that kind of brain, different membrane. Does Eddie happen to know how many of his people got left behind?
So I inquire, like, how many are or were left?
On the other side of the gate.
Of the ones of your age, none. There are 12 of Eddie's generation. There are 2 that are older, way older. The primal forces of all creation from the looks of them. There's Eddie's crew of people, and then there's their descendants. Their descendants, Eddie doesn't know, hasn't seen them in a very, very long time.
And that's saying something.
So
Family reunions just got way
But
too weird.
Eddie's family is not a thing of ordinary space and time, is
right.
one of the things you gather from this. They're from outside of this part of the universe, whatever it is.
I wouldn't trust any of them with the potato salad.
No.
Yeah, raisins. Really not good. All right. I'm circling back to the theory that Erebus's grand play is basically making Earth a home to however many babies or possibly grown up. I don't know what the gestation cycle, reproductive cycle is like with Eddie's folks. But, and space time works a little bit differently, but several billion years have passed. Well, millions. And yeah, that may be a lot of babies. A lot of babies.
Mm-hmm.
So are we thinking just a good old-fashioned alien invasion? Is that what we're looking at here?
Invasion or gestation?
What's the difference?
The thing you were unable to really make heads or tails of was why Earth was important enough for all 12 of these creatures to come here. Because it didn't have anything to do with people. It didn't have anything to do with, like the biosphere that you currently have, because they didn't have it back then.
Yeah.
No.
Like it was like the atmosphere was still getting oxygen because of all the plants that were growing. That's how early they showed up.
Yeah.
So it's you're not quite sure what makes this hunk of rock important to them.
Well, unless they terraformed it or ediformed it. It sounds like the evolutionary process was skewed by them. So it's possibly they were laying the ground for potential hosts. Time doesn't mean a whole lot to them. They're outside time.
So, a couple of interesting things have been said here that I think I may have just pieced together. talking about the fact that the current biosphere that we have here on our home sweet home didn't exist when Eddie's kind got here, correct?
Yes.
So
Yeah,
if it's
so we're
not,
talking like Carboniferous
Yeah.
era.
so
Right.
if we're not thinking of anything above the ground, what about something below it?
That's what I was thinking too.
And
As if
then-
somebody, yeah.
And then you asked what might be a very pertinent question: invasion or gestation?
Or, like Gene said, it's a distinction without a difference.
What if the
So-
Earth is the egg?
That's the question. And that might tie into what the fungus zombies are on about, because mushrooms are fruiting bodies. The real fungal mass is the mycelial network, which can be huge. Some people have theorized that essentially there's a continent-wide one that we're standing on.
That's creepy, and I think I have a sudden urge to bring the internet trolls some weed begone.
And now you
Gonna
see,
need a
now you
lot
see
more
the fun
Roundup.
of the fungus zombies, because they're exactly that. They're a entire fungus colony that's connected to each other somehow.
Yep.
Right.
And mobile.
We
and
assume, by the
contagious.
way, it's some sort of psychic connection, just that it's an alien mind, so it uses an alien system we do not have access to.
Right. Because they're, they're obviously not connected to the ground with a,
It's a little
blanking
less-
on the name of what the mycelial root structure is, but
It's just the mycelium.
yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, that mushrooms look a little bit like dicks is kind of amazing because it is a reproductive organ. So
Yeah, well,
from an entirely different kingdom.
yep. Form follows function, man. I mean, we give it long enough and we're all going to look like crabs. So it just, there are certain evolutionary pressures that just result in certain structures.
Mr. Klein. Question.
Mm-hmm.
Has any of your kind ever... Do the Memento Mori soldiers have minds to read as you would think of them?
Oh, so that's kind of interesting.
Yes, that's why I asked.
So Memento Mori, specifically the fungus, is a branch of In Memoriam, but Memento Mori is a fungus, one entity,
Okay.
that occupies a whole bunch of generally recently deceased people. Quite often, it is the reason they are deceased. They get infected with spores during battle, and then a couple weeks later they're dead because the fungus has taken them over. The fungus mimics the body in a lot of respects wherever it takes over. So it doesn't, they don't come out misshapen or anything like that. So it replaces functions of the body to keep the body as viable as long as possible as it infiltrates further and further until eventually it's just one giant mushroom and it dies. Well, it doesn't die. It's in a different state at that point. While the brain tissue is still there, we can communicate with it because we can communicate with the old brain. It still has its base human psionic connection. So when it is in that state, we can sort of communicate with it through the dead brain as a translator. It is harrowing. You do not want to know what that thing is like.
I can imagine.
The best term
Um,
for it is it's inhuman. It is not
well, yeah.
a person
We
at its root.
we've been banding around alien, and it's probably vast and looming and highly unpleasant.
There's a lot of different types of alien. That's the fun thing. There's a theory going around that psionic powers are alien as well. We don't know where they come from, but we do know that we share a pool. This is something that Mind Hive kind of demonstrated to us. Mind Hive is not a person; it's a group of people. It's a hive.
Right.
They share a consciousness and a set of abilities. They are all individual. They are all the same. It is weird. I think is the best way to put it. They're happy as all hell being like that, so that's fine. Yeah,
Well, you know,
they're good with it.
anarcho-socialist. It's fine, man.
Yeah.
Okay, so how long before the neurological tissue gets assimilated by the fungus?
They usually have a few months.
Okay.
There's when there's this kind of sweet spot that it likes to use the corpses at. When they're brand new, they're very difficult to control because they have not been thoroughly infiltrated.
Right.
When they have been over infiltrated, it ceases functioning like a body and operates a lot more like, well, a big mushroom. And mushrooms, as you know, don't move on their own. They
Yeah,
don't have musculature of any sort.
they're
So it
fruiting
relies on its own
bodies.
kind of flexibility not to break inside, but eventually it's a point where the body is now just decayed to a point where it's more mushroom than not, and then
It
you know,
becomes
it falls over.
sessile and
Yeah.
produces spores and
Indeed, yes, that's one of the things it does. It'll become a sporing body. A whole bunch of things spring out of its ears and whatnot, and that's when they're the most dangerous. Don't
Right.
shoot one if you see it lying around. They'll just
Okay.
create a gray cloud and kill everybody around. Weeks
Right.
later.
Willie
Yeah.
Pete. Napalm, gotcha.
Oh, you didn't read The Girl with All the Gifts, did you?
Me,
book.
no, I haven't yet, but I know it, and I also, if we're talking out of game, you know, I have researched Orocordyceps fairly thoroughly.
Yes.
Haven't played The Last of Us, but I know the whole deal.
The trick from the book, the thing that happens at the end is has to deal with that. But that's neither here nor there. You should read it at some point. It's a good book.
Yeah.
But yeah, so now mind you, they can also sprout the vegetating bodies at just about any time. So they are dangerous.
Right.
In actual warfare, Memento Mori is a fairly active mercenary group. They're all over the world. One of the things they'll do is they'll infect an alien, they'll capture somebody, infect them, send them back, and well, they're just in the mess hall at some point, however many days or weeks later, sprout out a whole bunch of spores people inhale. The enemy force is now their own force.
Right. And I assume it's a lot easier with the wounded. They'll intentionally leave wounded folks who are infected.
Yes. And even just a few spores, it's fine, because as the body grows and it makes its connection with the rest, we don't know how it communicates between things, but funguses do have communication networks and amongst their mycelia, so I imagine this is just the next step up.
Right.
We also don't know if it has any relationship with any other fungus on Earth, or if it's an earthbound fungus originally. May have ridden it on an asteroid for all I know.
Yeah, well, panspermia is a valid theory.
But it may just have evolved out of an existing one into something else, and it's just found a niche in humans.
Right.
As mentioned, there's ones that attack specific types of ants or specific types of hornets and stuff. Why not?
Yep.
So
just another evolutionary strategy. Gotcha.
Yes.
Bumpy hornets. I may never sleep again.
Oh, don't study nature. Whatever you do, it is worse
God.
than you ever think it was.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there's a whole
yeah.
species of parasitic barnacles that are just nightmare fuel.
Yeah.
Don't.
Yeah, just
Just
yeah,
don't.
no.
Along with the whole sea louse tongue thing.
Yep.
Yeah, just
I will take things that I just didn't need to know about for 1,000, Alex.
Saw a great horror movie about that. So yeah, but there's said like it's what is going on with a lot of things around is kind of a big question. Kind of circling back to your thing about the agreement that we have. So the Scion community is a very we don't trust people very much, to be perfectly honest. When we first started coming around, corporations and governments tried their best to take us, learn from us, and make use of us, and we did not like that. And so as our numbers developed, we found that we could help each other out a lot better because we can find each other. And back in those early days, that was a very decided part on how we were going to deal with the world. And we made a decision that as a community, we were going to separate ourselves from everybody else because we could not trust them. Because time and again, people prove that anybody in power is going to abuse that power rather thoroughly. So when STEM came about and started growing, STEM already existed prior to us coming onto the scene, but really it flourished along the time that we did, which is pretty much in parallel with the Atom family as well. And so the Atom family went all in with STEM. They're very much parts of each other's organizations. Just the Atoms are a family, and almost all of them are part of STEM. We, on the other hand, have a agreement with STEM that we will work with them, they will work with us, and they will not make any explicit demands of us. You'll note that there are very few heroes or villains that are outright scions. We are our own thing. We do, on the other hand, to hold up our end of the bargain, make things easier for STEM.
Oh, so.
Okay, now, is STEM a government agency or not?
Yes.
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 So how do they pull that off? How do they get government money and are able to make their own money and not contribute it back into the coffers? How do they have leave to do just about anything they want, but still do it with the full support of the government? How many senators would tolerate that?
I'd like to do a bureaucracy role because
Well,
I should know that.
How does Burton operate? There's heavy influence, and
But imagine Halliburton that's not run by anybody in a position of authority. No elected person.
Again, no elected people run Exxon or Halliburton.
So places like those do it through bribery. They pay people a lot and they collect information on them in order to shame them. STEM takes another approach. There's nobody sitting in office that we have not manipulated into thinking STEM is okay and should be left alone.
Nothing to see move along.
Every congressperson, all of them. We nudge them in the right direction.
There's suddenly Jack starts multiplying very large primes and starts doing 4-dimensional, then 6 and up to 8-dimensional supersymmetry calculations.
The problem is that they're also those are all still so easy for him that doesn't actually accomplish what he wants.
So there's a reason STEM is headquartered in Washington, because they keep an office for us in Washington. And we engage with the political world quietly, very quietly. We don't overnudge them. They're just leave STEM alone. And so people who are members of STEM become kind of immune to a lot of what the law has, because STEM handles it.
Right.
And well, that's one of the services we provide to the world. The problem is, part of that arrangement is we don't pry into STEM past a certain cursory level. So whoever runs STEM, like we presume it's the Liberty League. We think, just like everybody else, is it? I couldn't tell you. I don't know who actually calls the shots because, well, we have made an agreement not to.
Yeah, that's terrifying. I'm not gonna sleep tonight either.
Yes.
Mhm.
Well, there's a good reason for this. The divisions that exist in things are to keep the peace amongst us. Because if we turned on STEM, STEM would turn on us. There's only a few of us who could really handle everything STEM has at its arsenal. Mind you, there's a massive number of scions out there in the world. Most of them don't know they are.
Right.
So here's a fun one. There's the rule of 10. So we work on a base 10 system as a growth population. There are about 10 tippy top tier level scions out there, like Akira or Mind Hive. I don't rate that high, mind you. So there's about 10 of them that are just terrifyingly, amazingly good at what they do. So then there are, and by the way, we refer to those. Those are the Delta Scions. So the next tier down is Gamma. That's what I am. This is a person
And
who has outright psionic abilities.
there's what? 10 times 10 to
So there are past the gammas, I'm past the deltas, you get on to gamma level.
Right.
There are about, let's say, 100 of us, give or take.
okay.
We're fully capable, very good at what we do. We are in full control of our abilities all the time. Next level down, you have beta scions. Beta scion is any scion who knows that they are a scion, has an ability they control, but of a fairly limited scope. About 1,000 of them.
Right. I see where this is going.
So alphas, an alpha scion is somebody who has psionic ability, has no control over it. They're the person who just, if something's falling, they're just able to grab it, or they, are more attuned with how people are feeling or can manipulate people's feelings around them. About 100,000 of them. Then there's a layer below them. They're the ones who are unaware that they have an ability and don't have anything that manifests.
10,000 of those.
No, actually, it jumps up. There's 1 million of those. Then there's a tier below them. There's 10 million people who have a potential for psionic ability, have no evidence of it and manifesting in any way that they can control or can't control.
Hasn't been unlocked yet.
Yes. So they don't rate with a category. So, and then below them is just everybody else. So we occupy about a 1/3% of the world's population. The numbers I was quoting is just for the US, mind you. So about
Of course,
of the US is in some way or another a scion.
And we can extrapolate. There's a proportional relationship,
and that number's
per capita
slowly growing all the time.
Yep.
So, I'm a fairly rare beast. I'm very, very good at what I do and whatnot, but not world-shatteringly powerful. But on the other hand, for every one of me, there's 10 folks who can do anything purposely.
And then there's
so the thing is, if they wanted to wipe us, they only have to take out those couple top layers and it resets the whole thing, because all those other ones are not part of our club. CYPHER has about 10,000 residents.
You said that the scions and STEM, you don't really work together, but you work adjacent, shall we say?
Yes.
There's some
benefit each other.
Now,
shared goals.
now, if I were a devious STEM shadow manipulator, string puller, what have you, I would find the idea of a homegrown scion very appealing.
Or barring that, there's
Oh, wait.
10 million in this country alone that could get unlocked. And if they controlled that process and owned those people.
And I look and point directly at Black Ice, and then Jackdaw, and then me. And say,
Oh, yeah.
they might be motivated to run some experiments, don't you think?
Well,
Yes, that's the problem. And that's why we have our arrangement. The one thing they are not allowed to experiment with is
right.
us.
But they don't have the same agreement with the atoms.
They
And
do
we
not.
know,
The Adams have a totally different agreement.
yeah. And there was definitely some
Mind you,
eugenics
once
going
again,
on there.
the problem with the Adams, if I may speak freely on the subject matter, looking at Pa, the Adams are very resistant to being controlled by anybody. So though they are indeed very much in STEM, they are also still a family. And if they get the feeling you have crossed them, it's over for you. They are a very large population of extraordinarily nasty people in a lot of respects. So whereas we have a few very big heavy hitters and a whole lot of very subtle actors to work with, on the other hand, the Adam family has just a large collection of fairly heavy hitters, some heavier than others, certainly. But when STEM wants to run any scientific things, they kind of have to pass it by the whole family first. Because as soon as one of them gets the
they're
idea
aware
that
of
something yes. But once again, risk versus reward there.
right. So
people like you, on the other hand, have nobody to advocate for them.
right.
You were once a person.
Maybe.
And nobody's stopping them from screwing with all of you.
Right. Well, and they probably come on, let's be real here. They're not stopping with us.
No.
We're just prototypes. I'm sure if they can figure out how to make a scion or how to turn one on and own one, I'm pretty sure they've got an atom
Them
eugenics program.
owning a scion's tricky, though, because once they go online, we know them. And I hate to put it this way, but I know who all the scions are as soon as I see them. As soon as anywhere near them, I can hear them.
You can't hear the fungus people.
No.
You can't hear the symbiotes.
Nope. But I can hear a human scion anywhere.
Right. You do see the flaw in your logic.
I said, owning somebody is a different matter. Because what we're hearing is their psionic ability. That's what connects us. So that provides us some level of insulation against people being able to tinker around and do anything with our kind.
Yeah, but if they can replicate it through some other matter.
Oh, there are other things that have psionic abilities that are not scions. That is very well known. There are atoms, for instance, who can read people's minds, move things with their minds and stuff. Totally different method of doing it. It's like AC and DC. They behave similarly, but they're not the same thing. But yes, that is a concern too. But
I just gonna put this out there. I wouldn't trust STEM to be playing fair with you or the atoms.
Said I hope the atoms know how to take care of themselves. We have said we have something they don't. Which is,
Internally, I am screaming. I am hoping to fuck that we have something in place for dealing with essentially psionics within our own ranks, given the issues between the atoms and the psions.
yes.
Hope,
Yes.
hope,
It's not just
hope,
yeah.
hope. Hope is a lovely word.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like there are some very interesting questions though. Like for instance, several of you have outright manufactured abilities. The entirety of the Liberty League does, with the exception of one person, Eidolon, whose abilities are magical and ancient as best we can tell. We don't know how old he is, but given the nature of what he does, it dates back to antiquity. But most of them were made. They did not. They were not born the way they are. Especially USA. USA is a product of their
Of the USA,
program.
yeah.
And the latest iteration of it, quite marvelous, I might say. I would not want to get into a fist fight with that man, or a gunfight, or an intelligence fight, or anything. He's exceptional in just about everything he touches. It's amazing. But that said, they are still making their own. But then we have to question, they were already around when we came around. They were already around when the atoms came around. What's the chance we were just an experiment gone awry?
Not awry, just one that they couldn't control.
Well, it got out of control, yes. The aliens, on the other hand, there's also a lot of question as to how many there are out there. We don't know because we can't see them.
Right.
We're concerned about them. For instance, I've mentioned our town, Cyville, a few times. Nobody's allowed in there. On the other hand, Will stopped by to visit once, and we couldn't stop him. None of us knew he was there.
Right. You can't see him until he,
we
literally
realized
lets you
eventually
know.
there's a person there that we cannot sense, and that's how we figured it out. Unfortunately, it was Will. They were there to visit.
You are far too trusting, my friend. Far too trusting.
It's not that we're too trusting. It's I don't concern myself with things I have no control over.
Which is all fine and good until they exercise control over you.
Bingo.
Yes. The nice thing is that Cyville is a tough nut to crack. It has a lot of physical perils and other sorts of things that, Will's tricky. Will is very difficult to damage or manipulate, but also Will's not very effective at hurting other things.
No.
Could pull an asteroid into orbit, but beyond that, I don't know what Will and Nebula are up to. They're doesn't seem overly malicious, doesn't seem overly nice either. I don't know what that thing is doing and how much of it is the tricky thing with any alien is how much of their personality is them and how much is the alien's personality.
Right. And how much volition Will has at this point. Maybe academic as well, but no, what that group is doing is probably preparing the way.
We don't know. That's the best part. So you want the really fun question about the aliens?
Oh, sure.
For value of fun.
I get to walk in all the circles of power in the world and stuff because, well, that's what I do for a living. There's one question that keeps coming up about y'all. Looking at Gene. I don't know if you can answer this for yourself. Don't try to answer it to me because I will know then, and that will have its own consequences. What is it? Why do you want people? What are you getting out of that? Y'all are capable of existing separate from people, except maybe Will. Will's alien doesn't exist very well in reality. It breaks apart. That's why you see that black smoke around it. It's disintegrating all the time whenever it's here. But the rest of you, it existed outside of being a host in a fashion. At least it was here. How physical it was is another question, but what does it want out of you?
I think all of our heads slowly turned to Jean.
What does the Circus King's alien want from the Circus King? Not what it wants with the world and all that. Why are they joined together? Why that person?
Wait, hold up.
Pick anyone.
Stop.
Why
Whoa,
that?
whoa, whoa, whoa,
Whoa,
whoa,
whoa, whoa,
whoa,
hey,
whoa,
up.
whoa.
Go
The-
back a moment.
Okay, so the Circus King has a symbiote.
Yes.
That's why you can't read him.
Yes.
Okay, then.
It is a psychic symbiote. It affects people's minds. That's what it does. Like your friend here, the symbiote absorbs and releases energy, transforms it, no less. Quite
Eldest and
special and
firstborn.
usual. Nebula, the easiest way we can put it, does something with space-time. Can bend space and time around in places, just shift the locations of things back and forth. Interestingly, if you have a science division friend, or ever go over there to talk to the scientists, ask them about Will. Will goes in all the time for testing. Enjoys this to no end. They have tested how his teleportation works versus other teleporters, and his doesn't work like anyone else's.
Remember that.
So it's interesting. Or you could just ask Will. He knows you guys and doesn't seem to hate you when he's not dressed up. So I don't know what's going on with that either. Or the kid. That's another one that. Why does an alien symbiote want to have a relationship with a child as though it was a daughter? I don't get that.
Why, indeed.
Going back to your, thoughts on what they're up to, and that's kind of a, relationship with another person who is, treated as a child. That's nothing aliens have done before. They don't think like that. So it's back to the question: what does the symbiote want with that person? The overall plan is, sketchy enough, but so ask yourself, your symbiote, what'd you call him, Eddie? What does Eddie want? Why you? That's the question. That's the one that I really wish I could know. Because I understand how most people work. People are pretty straightforward and simple, and I can read that fundamental stuff out of them. I understand things about people. I can't with them. I don't know what they're about.
Patrick, just for clarification, because I don't remember this. You said that Will was the one who gave the circus the space on Rikers?
Yes.
Because Will owns it.
Will owns it.
And
Because
now
Will has more money than God. And then Erebus, who is Will, invited the Circus King onto the island as well as the Memento Mori troops.
So we now have an alien symbiote that we know to be malevolent, that being Nebula, working with another alien symbiote that we know to be nefarious, being the Circus King.
With a third symbiote
Yep.
that we know to be malevolent as well,
Yes.
Luminaire.
All working with fungus zombies.
Yes. Oh yeah, Lumiere is oh boy, she has been a problem for a long time.
So do we know who all 12 symbiotes are?
Nope. We do not.
That's what I figured.
So I assume that they're scattered around the world. Lumiere was originally European, came from
Right.
France. She comes by that accent and chain smoking, quite honestly.
Yeah, and the
What was her
Conehead
attitude
thing
like?
too.
So she interested. She is old. She came here after the war. So
Right.
she had been in Europe when all of the fun was going down, and her involvement with that, I'm not quite sure. That's not very well documented, unfortunately. But
Mhm.
she eventually traveled back here after the fall of the Axis. Circus King could be from anywhere, but we know that Jean was already here, so that's 3. There are 12, according to you. So we only know a couple others around here. So about half of them are unaccounted for. I don't know where they are or what they're doing. They might be the person behind all the stuff that's going on in Romania and surrounding area now. Might not. Don't know. That's interesting. Have you heard anything about what's going on overseas at this point?
Enlighten us.
So, starting up in the Transylvania area, the northern part of Romania, the entire area went offline for a while, stopped communicating. Some crazy stuff was going down, according to their neighbors in Moldavia, who were very, very concerned with being conquered. And then the rest of Romania went offline, came back several weeks later under a new government. And then Moldavia followed suit. And this has been slowly creeping westward. So it's only a matter of time until, Albania is probably going to be going under next. That whole neck of the woods is coming up under a new government. They speak of having a leader. We do not know who this leader is. And they are totally rebuilding civilization around them.
So I'm at this point going to take out my phone and send a text to the troll, asking if he can dig around and find any information on who the leader or leaders of Romania / Moldavia, etc., that whole region might be.
Well, even just network traffic. Eastern Europe runs on the dark web,
Yeah.
so
There's a pause of all of maybe 30 seconds. And then a response with, "Oh, me no." Next text message. Next text message is 5 letters. Yeah. It's EXA-D.
I text back EXPL-AIN question mark.
That's all me know. That's its name. It talks to us online all the time.
Thanks. Next time I'm in your neighborhood, I'll kick in and turn over for you.
So yeah, there's that state of the world.
Yeah.
And interestingly, so there are, like any place in the world, there are, powers everywhere. So the powers in the new government are going along with whatever that new government is, like everybody else there. This is the weird thing. So some sort of revolution happens in the course of a couple weeks. Everything goes dark, lose all communication with them, comes back, they're under a new government, everybody is in it. Like imagine if like Canada just went dark and they now they have a king and everybody's like, yeah, that's our king. These are our aristocrats and we are all subjects of this and everybody's fine with that.
How long ago was that?
Oh, it's been happening the past couple months.
Right, but how long ago did the blackout and then conversion happen?
In the neck of Transylvania, that started happening about 6 weeks ago.
Okay.
So about a month ago, Romania came back online. A couple weeks later, Moldavia was brought into it. Part of Serbia dropped off next and joined in. So it's happening fairly rapidly.
Anybody else go dark recently?
Well, hang on. Let me take a look. Well, let's see. Said the southern part of Serbia caught Kosovo up with that shortly thereafterwards. Macedonia. So it said occupying, basically heading dangerously towards Turkey. We're worried about that. Turkey and Greece are parts of the world that's members of larger organizations, politically speaking. But so far, Bulgaria has not. We're concerned about that direction. From Moldova might hop over into the Ukraine. Ukraine's very big, so I'm not quite sure how it would handle that. And we're also, of course, worried about Hungary and Bosnia / Herzegovina, which I can never pronounce. Those are the surrounding areas. It seems to just be going to attached geographic areas. It has not jumped yet.
Right.
But people are, building new buildings, carrying on stuff, changing jobs, but nobody's upset about what's happening. They're very happy with their civilization now. Like, once again, imagine when the Iron Curtain fell, and if everybody behind it was like, yeah, fucking awesome, we're communists now. No revolution, no fighting, nothing. Just
Right.
new government. I don't know what their leader is doing or how it's convincing people or even how that system works. Nobody's been in there.
No, and none of y'all had anything to do with that.
Nope.
That you know of.
That we know of. There are other powerful scions out there. You never know. It could be a scion, it could be an alien, it could be an atom. We don't know.
Yeah.
So-
How long?
Go ahead.
Go on. No, go, please.
So, if I were a member of a community such as yours with these known abilities and relatively high levels of power, and I heard about a number of countries miraculously falling under new rule with no dissidents whatsoever, I might be motivated to see if maybe one of my kind was responsible.
So here's a problem that STEM ran into.
Hmm.
So STEM, much like the CIA and all the other intelligence agencies, send agents in to figure out what's going on. That's what you do. You gather intelligence. Every person that was sent over just joined in.
Has been converted. Right.
Have there been any scions?
Yep.
Shit.
We haven't heard from them since.
Well, fuck.
So, and we haven't gotten close enough to any of them to see what's going on because, well, a fear of
assimilation. Yeah.
So, but I think that's enough for me tonight. I really have to get some other stuff done today
Yes.
because, I have our neighbors to keep an eye on.
Thanks for your time.
Oh, no problem. It's always nice to, be able to talk to some of our own kind. It's not a thing I get to do phenomenally often. I have to deal with the hoi polloi more often than not as well with my skills. So as he gets up, Gene's phone pings. Bing. You get a text from Calamity with just one word on it. It's hey, with 4 E's and a couple extra Y's on top of it too.
Can't see it, right? Ah.
And I think that's where we will end for tonight.
So I want to give one very short, just kind of outro scene. So, Crash is sitting there with his, his chin in his hand. And we fade out and we fade back in. It's completely dark out. There is one small lamp in the conference room that is kind of illuminating Crash. He's still in the same chair. He has a baseball. And he throws it at the floor. It bounces off the floor, bounces off the wall, and he catches it. He just sits there doing that and thinking. That's it. Alrighty, so that info dump was issue 22 of The Powers That Be. Again, this one was called Afterglow, which now has far more horrifying connotations than I really want to think about right now. But we're going to take a break, get out of here, take a quick break, do our after show as usual. If you liked what you saw, please let us know. If you want to donate, that's great, but just let us know that you're out there and that you're liking what we're doing. If you want to theory craft, if you want to give us suggestions, please feel free. The comments are yours. In the meantime, for Patrick, ECAT, Matt, Julie, and Ray, I am Trevor, the Vitruvian Meeple. Good night, everybody.